Hello, everyone. This is Kathleen, and I'm here today covering a lot of ground. I'm pretty busy because of all the things I've got going right now. I know many of you are too. Gosh, May is just such a busy month, isn't it? Anyway, so I do appreciate if you're listening, I appreciate your time because I know how busy May is for everyone. And so I want to give you a little update on these two journals because they're pretty much finished. I just need to make some ephemera, which I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you how I'm doing that. And then I also, because once I kind of started doing this, um, I realized that I could give you a little art lesson today as well. So yeah, we're going to kill two birds with one stone. Not that I want to kill any birds, actually, having spent time in all of this lovely backwoods stuff. Don't want to kill any birds, but yeah, we're going to cover a lot of territory today. So these two journals are for my design team project for Stacy Belts and Stacy Stories on Etsy. I will link the kit that I've used and to her shop, and so yeah, this is like the next step. We did the covers and now I have the signatures in, and things are pretty much decorated, and I'm anxious to show you the finished books. But as I say, I need a little more ephemera. So I set out to make that, and the easiest way at this point, because I had a bunch of scraps left, is to make masterboards, right? I love masterboards. I know many of you do too. And that it's a quick and easy way to make journaling tags and cards, which we're going to do. But as I was making them, so I've made two masterboards. I'm going to do 4, maybe 5 journal cards and 3, maybe 2 tags, depending on how they look when I cut them. But I just started with coffee dyed paper and did these masterboards on top. And I want to show you, let me put these aside for a minute. I want to show you these side by side. So one is finished, completely finished, and the other one is not. This one has details. It has its detailing finished, and this one doesn't. It is basically done, but it still looks kind of flat, don't you think? I mean, if you can see, I hope you can see them kind of side by side. The one just looks more, I wish I knew the term to explain it. Sometimes artists talk about life in a design, in a painting, or in a sculpture. There's life in it somehow. And that's the way I feel about this. This has life. And this one is still just a little bit flat. And the difference in my mind between the two is something that I do deliberately, and that is to add depth to the piece. Depth is it's part of perspective, and it's perspective and line and color. These are elements of art, and they help us create a comfortable, an enjoyable, a pleasing design. All of these different elements of art do that for us. They're tools that artists use to help create a pleasing design. Sometimes when you look at something and you think, well, that's nice, but there's just something missing, or I just don't quite like it. I wish I knew what was wrong with it. Sometimes all it is just that little spark of life. And depth is a tool that can help us achieve a comfortable a lifelike design for our viewers. Okay, so this one has depth. This and this is also the reason why I wanted to do that, because this image, this is one image in the kit, but I've cut it into two. It has a lot of depth. I think that's what I love about it, is the color and the depth to the color, to the image. So I'm going to use this image to help us along with this masterboard. Okay, so let me just give you a quick little lesson on depth as a tool of design. Okay, in art, depth is the perceived distance between what is in the background of a composition or design and what is in the foreground. So it's the idea of near and far away. That's perspective. Depth is a way of using this space, and space is one of the key elements of art. The artistic space is the distance around and between the elements of your design. Using techniques that create the illusion of depth on a flat surface help your design look more three-dimensional. Three-dimensional designs seem more lifelike and are comfortable to the viewer's eye. And there are several tools that artists can use to create the illusion of depth. One is perspective through line and color, and especially shading. Those things will help us to create depth. So when we are junk journaling, okay, so this is easy enough to understand if you're talking about a painting, right? But when you're talking about a masterboard, how do you apply that? And I can't explain it. Some of it is intuitive to me, but I know that depth is part of it. And I do have one other video that I did quite a long time ago on creating depth for flat elements in a journal. And so I will link that video. If you're interested, you can go back and look at that video, because I specifically do things in a way with flat things, because I didn't want to add bulk that would create depth. So some of the things that I did, and this is what we're going to do today, is the first thing we can do is to overlap and layer. That helps create depth, because smaller, farther objects in the background are placed behind larger objects in the foreground, and that gives the viewer the impression that these background items are further away. The size and detail of your design elements also contributes to the illusion of depth. So smaller objects with less detail are perceived as being farther away, and smaller seems even more distant. You can add shading to create depth by showing where the light source is. Humans with healthy eyesight naturally understand shadows and perceive depth. So I say healthy eyesight because I actually have 2 or 3 friends who have no depth perception, and it's a struggle for them. So stairs and other things that we take for granted, that we can see the depth, it's difficult for them. And driving, understanding distance, how far something is away. So I recognize that there are people who can't perceive depth, but most of us can. And we can use some of these things that just come natural to us, like shading and size and overlapping. Those things are really easy to understand. Color value is another one of the elements of art, and that's a little less well understood, but it also dictates kind of how we perceive distance. Colors that are lighter and objects that have less detail seem further away, and objects that are more sharply defined and darker in color seem closer. So let's just look at this image and think about this. So overlapping and layering. So there are a lot of layers in this picture. This layer overlaps this layer, and you can see that this cliff is darker in color and it seems closer. These trees on the opposite bank are lighter in color and further away. The sky is lighter even more and further away. But you can see how this artist has used those colors and overlapping to create this perspective. Okay, this tree is very detailed and it's obviously more in the front. The darker colors are more in the front. These trees have less detail. They are in the back, right? This tree is bigger. This tree is bigger. These trees are smaller, and that pushes them back in distance. So there's some color value going on here. Yeah, there's some shading here at the bottom of these trees. Shadows here, darker colors. It helps create the illusion of shadows. So size and detail, shading, color value, overlapping and layering. It's all here in this image. Maybe that's why I like it. All right. So we can look at this one the same. You can see the trees, lighter color, less detail, and they're further away. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's put those aside and we will look at our design again now today, and then I'm going to finish this one and show you a couple of other techniques. So one of the things that I've done on this is obviously we've got overlapping and layering going on. So we have the different papers that overlap, and so we recognize this one's at the bottom of this one. That's easy enough to understand. Oh, sorry. Let me get a little drink of water. For some reason, I have inhaled some dust or something. So the size and detail in a masterboard is kind of jumbled up, but you can still see that smaller still creates the illusion of distance as it falls back in the layers. But what I want to cover is this overlapping and layering, which we've talked about, and then adding shading. So shading just kind of creates some depth. So instead of just having a white edge, so on this one we have a white edge. I want you to remember that, okay? There's just this plain white edge. On this one, you can see that I've added some shading around the edges. It's kind of the point of what to stress is, but it creates some depth. It takes your eye in to the paper rather than understanding that this is flat. This seems like it has dimension. And then, of course, I have layering with the napkin decoupage, because as we put the glue on there and the white in the napkin disappears, then this design ends up being on top. Same with the stamp, same with the washi tape over the top. Then that helps to create depth and layers. So just take this corner, for instance. You've got the white, which seems at the bottom, and then you've got this graph paper design, but that still is obviously behind this ampersand stamp. The ampersand is obviously behind this strip of washi tape, and then we have a texture stamp kind of on top of that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. And when I mean layers, I mean like a layer that comes forward. Yeah, I think I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think you can understand it. And then finally, I have some splatters that help to give the illusion of layers and depth, something on top, right? So let's do that with this one. And so this card is going to go this direction, I think, and this one, these 3 will be this direction. So how I'm going to add some layers is, first of all, I'm going to use this pretty speckled egg. It's a very, very light color that's just going to kind of add some depth. And I'm going to put it kind of here along this edge to create kind of a shadow behind that paper. So I'll put some there. I'm going to put some along in there and over here. Okay, so that immediately takes your eye. It lifts this forward and takes this down. So I'm just going to kind of put some of that kind of just behind some of these things. Just along some of these edges. All right. And then I'm going to take the brown and do kind of the same thing, just sort of take some, create some depth. Already that just seems more lifelike to me. I hope you can see it. And you know, it's okay if you don't. If you can't understand what I'm, trying to express, that's okay, because that's, the nature of art. It just may be that I'm not, I'm not achieving my purpose, but it makes me happy, and so that's what I want. I think that looks better to me. So now we have that basic layer that just takes the background down and leaves some of these details up and forward a little bit. So now we're going to just simply create a couple of the finishing touches, the details, like the texture stamps and the splatter, except we're not going to do splatter. I'm going to show you how to do something a different way. But I do want to add some texture. So I'm just going to use this crosshatch and black. And we're just going to put a little texture here and there. Put one like that. Maybe one down here in this corner. This one needs another one, I think. Maybe there. Okay, so that's good. And, because this is a nature book, I don't want to do postmarks and some of that kind of thing. So we're just going to keep it very organic, oriented. Okay, now instead of splatter, what I'm going to do is like a smushing. We're going to just kind of smush paint on top. Now, when you do this, it's important to cover up things that you don't want. For instance, I don't want smush to end up on these faces or the face of this bird or those men. So I want to do a little bit of a mask. And that's easy enough. All I'm going to do is just, cover that. We'll just cover the face. We'll cover their faces, and we'll maybe just cover that bird. Okay. The rest of it is okay. I don't mind. All right, now we're going to go with this is Evergreen Bow, which is in tone, it's a little darker than this one, and so it's going to be more in the foreground. So we're just going to push that down on this plastic. It's just a piece of packaging plastic, acrylic, and then I'm going to spritz it with water to create some beads. And then I'm just going to smush it on there, different places. And I need to get a little bit more. Because I need some on here. And I need some down here. Okay. All right. Now we pick up our masks. And thankfully those areas got protected. And there you go. That makes even more. See, now look at the depth right here. I like it. Yeah. Now this is interacting up here now with the ink, just creating, I don't know, looks like a forest fire. We'll just, don't think forest fire. Our whole state is burning right now. Yeah, but it just kind of adds some splatter, and I think it just adds some life, right? It could use maybe just a little bit of paint splatter, but we're not going to worry about that now. So once I get the ephemera done, then I could possibly, I wish I had a little bit of white ink right there. I think, let's just, let me see if I have a white ink. No, I don't. Let me grab my, gonna grab my acrylic paint, and I'm just gonna roll that out. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I think we'll put a little bit down here as well. Yeah. Oh, I like it. Okay. That was good. Now let me get a baby wipe and wipe that up because I don't want it to smear on to my project. Okay, and I'll just roll that on. I think that can get cleaned pretty easy. Yeah, I'll just wash that. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Oh, I like it. Okay, let me give that a shot with the heat gun. How are we doing on time? We're good on time. Because now I'm just going to cut this into the ephemera pieces. I just really think that kind of came to life. Honestly, it did. Okay, now if you'll be patient for just a minute, I'll go over and slice this up and we'll see how it looks. All right, we've got 4 journaling cards, and we'll slice this into 3 tags. Okay, I like it. I think we'll trim these down just a little. I like about 7-inch tags. I don't know about you, but that's kind of what I like. We could do okay, we'll do that tag and then a little tiny tag. And then this one. Okay, so there's that. Now, let me do the tag shape. There's that. And maybe I can use that. Nope. Yes, I can. Actually, no, it's just easier to do it this way. That poor moose, he's just not going to be recognizable. Too bad. And then this one, I think we'll do that just a little shorter. Okay, and now I need to cut the holes. It'll be easier to do on this side. I don't know if you can't see it, I don't think. I have made a mark on my hole punch where I like it to be. So I put it in as far as that mark, and then I just have to, judge the distance from the middle. And in general, I think it goes pretty well. So there's my little tip for you. Okay, so there's holes. Now, do we want this one to be a little card or a little tag? I think maybe a little tag. That would be kind of fun to make just a little tag. All right, and now here's the corner rounder. And reinforcer. Okay. The nice thing about masterboard tags is they can be a background, and so I can do other things, or I can just, for these journals, I'm just going to leave them. This is going to be the tag, and I like it. I like that I don't have to do any more decorating. Same with the journal cards. I could maybe put a sentiment or something simple, but I like the way that turned out. Yeah, that's great. So just that much, that amount of work, and I have like 8 pieces of ephemera. 8 or 9. Okay, let's count them. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Put the edges on. Again, that just creates some depth at the edge, and it shows, like I was saying earlier, that the shading shows where the source of light is. So if the edges are dark, then the light is hitting here in the middle and brings it forward. Here, the shading, draws that down, and it brings this up, so that this is where the light is hitting. Isn't that a pretty design? This kit is just full of really gorgeous natural images. Really like them. I love this image. This stream, running stream. Yeah. So there's 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. Yeah, 8 pieces. That's not bad for 30 minutes. And that's going to finish the journals. Finish stuffing those pockets and tucks, and then I'll be able to film the flip through. So you can expect those 2 videos to come next in line. Okay, so there they are. 4 tags, 4 journal cards, and that's it for now. Thanks for your attention and for listening, and I hope that you will think about what I've talked about today with depth and give that a try in your own projects, and let me know what you think of it. Thanks for your time and patience, and we'll see you again.